Next city council meeting will call to order with a December 15th, 2020. We look for most of the minutes. Second. Aye.
Aye.
Maybe also have your microphone, please.
Sure. All right, do we want to start with him? Are you, yeah,
I would, well,
what do you,
the hearing is on, they got notice for 7 o'clock, so you can probably do this.
okay, all right. We'll go ahead. Do we need a motion to open up the hearing?
No,
All right, and we'll go ahead and open up the hearing for the delinquent water bills. Anyone here to speak on behalf of themselves or whatnot on the water bills? Jeff, is there anyone online that wants to speak for in the hearing for the delinquent water bills? Is there anyone online at all? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we certify them to their taxes.
All right, got a motion, got a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? I just have a question, you know, this looks like the largest list we've ever had. Wouldn't that be accurate?
probably not numbers wise, but dollars wise it is.
Not numbers wise, but dollars wise? Okay,
Might be, yeah, maybe 15, so it'll be over, yeah, it probably is.
Okay.
5 7 more.
all right. All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. All right, service removal request, Paula Daney,
Paul Phillips.
or Phillips, sorry. All right, looks like I understand that if the water is removed, there's a reconnection fee as if it is a new service, something we've done and talked about before. Is this a vacant? Okay, so removal of a trailer house, no plans to rebuild on the lot. So is this a vacant trailer right now?
Right now, yeah.
And it's being removed or it has been removed?
In the
It's still there now.
process.
Okay. I guess, what do you guys think?
I would make a motion to approve it.
Okay. All right, got a motion and a second, any discussion? Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that conditional and upon removal of the actual trailer.
I think she's having a hard time getting somebody to take it during the winter. And they've said they'll come in spring.
Okay,
I mean, it's gutted.
is it? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, okay, so there's no one's gonna go live in there
No.
or anything else? Okay. All right, I'll take your word on it. All right, any other discussion? All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I'll abstain just because she's related.
Oh, okay. Well, then your word should be really good then.
I've been in it.
Okay. All right. Police chief's report is here. Included, I think you got emailed out sooner. It's also included here. Right, if he comes in, we can go back to that if we need to. City engineer Chris, come on up.
What I have to today is the application of the contract for the sanitary sewer improvement project. Contractor has done the work for the year. This should take us. All right, thanks. The contractor done for the year with pretty much all the open cut portion of the sanitary sewer utility work and such. So this is going to be for pretty much everything except for the street restoration next year. And some of the pipe bursting that's going to occur next year as well. So this brings the total earned for the year to a total of $1,025,557.03. Subtracting out the previous two applications for payment and the 5% retained, which is held on the project, that leaves a payment of $633,862.48 for the application number 3, which I am recommending for approval tonight.
In terms of where we're at on the project, what work did they not get done that they had hoped to get done?
They got more work done than they probably thought they would get done.
Okay.
They got all the streets, so they, with the exception of 3rd Street, between the levee and the trunk highway, they got all the streets fully built up with all the utilities and all the way up to all the gravel. The only requirement of the contract that they had to do this year was just to put 6 inches of gravel down, but they got the full 2-foot pavement section in there, so they started with the blacktop. So they got more work done than probably would have expected, actually.
Okay. And how much sewer work is left?
There is about 600 feet of pipe bursting, the sanitary sewer just south of the levee to Main Street. And so that's a trenchless work. They'll pull a new pipe through the old pipe and they'll break up the old plastic pipe. And then they'll dig at each service location to reconnect the sanitary sewer services as well. So it's all the trenchless work will happen next year. And then there's about 60 feet of storm sewer at the intersection with the trunk highway as well on the south side. But that's the remainder of all the utility work. So everything else next year is just the curb, concrete, driveways, blacktop, restoration.
So when you say the trenchless work, and then you talked about the storm sewer. So is there going to be no more trenches dug next year?
The trenchless work, well, the majority is trenchless, but they
Okay.
do need to dig down to put in their equipment on each side of that pipe bursting operation. So they'll have to dig a hole south of the levee. They'll have to dig a hole on the south side of Main Street, and then they'll pull that pipe through. So they'll have to have 2 bigger holes, I'll call that. And then for each service location, they'll have to dig down to the service as well. And they'll dig down those services probably the day before they do the pipe bursting operation, so they can immediately reconnect it once the pipe is installed.
The pipe bursting was delayed by a permit from the Corps.
Yeah, we're good down the Corps of Engineers for that pipe bursting operation. So that's one thing that needs to be finalized at this point in the winter. So we won't be doing that until probably April, would be my best guess right now.
Okay.
Do you think there'll be issues getting that?
So we'll get through it. I have some correspondence with them. Last time I talked to them for about 3 weeks ago. They requested some items, and I still need to get it over to them, but a little less time sensitive than that. So we shall try to get it finalized.
Okay.
Did they just ban that sewer in the alley?
I'm sorry.
Did they just ban the sewer main in the alley?
The banning of the sanitary sewer, yes, I haven't gotten a date on that yet, as far as when that occurred. So the sanitary sewer on the west side of the ball field no longer has any sewer service connected to it. Everything's switched over to 4th Street now, so that needs to be abandoned. That still could occur in the next few weeks. But I haven't gotten a date yet for the subcontractor to do that.
I mean, even if they don't fill it, all they gotta do is, they can shut it off, can't they?
You can close the valve, yeah. The only thing that would happen there is eventually the water will make it out. So that valve is abandoned. So it could fill with water or until it's abandoned, and that water will eventually make it into the sewer system. So I will open the valve in order to release that water and fill it all with sand. So, but we could certainly close it. In the meantime, it looks like it's going to be a long period of time before they get in there.
I would say yes, that's all just, yeah, that's
kind of
just
the point
running.
of what we did, otherwise we wouldn't have moved forward on the 4th Street thing if we weren't kind of.
Yeah, well, we will be abandoned. It's just timing. It's just going to be for.
But I'm saying we wouldn't have did it this winter if it wouldn't have been abandoned, you know, so
Yeah.
we're pretty much defeating the purpose of doing that part of the project if we don't abandon it yet in the next.
Sure, and I believe that's still the plan. I just haven't gotten a date.
Okay, we want the valve closed as soon as possible, then
Sure.
will you let us know when that happens?
Yep.
Okay. So preferably by the end of next week, is that doable?
I wouldn't see the issue. It's just a white valve, I think.
Okay. Great, thank you.
I think next spring, when it starts back up again, we need to have clearer communication with the residents. And I'm specifically talking about the large pipe that's sticking out of South Third Street. I get that those people were told that, and I have it in an email, that those people were told that at the end of the project, that pipe would be cut down. To them, the end of the project meant next year.
Sure.
It didn't mean the following week. So the council over the weekend, that weekend, got raked over the coals on Facebook because of that communication.
Sure, yeah, I understand. And that's the case in bike that's sticking out of the ground. Well, they installed the trunks were later on. So, yeah, I guess when I talked to my RPR, was in the field, the people he had talked to directly, he had said he cut down, but I guess end the project versus end the season. I don't know if that was communication there as far as what that was. So this was my understanding cut down this year with contractors and my inspectors. It's just how that was related. And yeah, I apologize for any miscommunication on that, but it's never an intention to leave something
Right.
in the world like that.
And I just think the communication next spring has to be clear to those people.
I think residents generally like Dominic better than John. If that's, I mean, I don't know how you feel about their qualifications for representation on the job, but it makes a difference if our residents are happy with the representative. So,
I mean, it's good to hear that they do like Dominic. Dominic will be the person to be about next year.
okay.
John is one of our more experienced RPRs,
Mhm.
so we wanted him out here, especially that utility work. Get Dominic up here as well, watching the south side. The restoration next year, we will be with Dominic.
Okay.
And, obviously, the regular sector as well.
Yeah, I understand like the need to, have the technically knowledgeable person
Yep.
watching the trenches. And it just gets harder when we also need that same person to be our frontline communicator with the residents. It's hard to find somebody with both skill sets and rare. So it's good that there were two people for most of the project, but it definitely got to be a bigger issue when Dominic was pulled. But I mean, it cost us money to have two on there too. So it'll be good. Hopefully that next year that we have Dominic. So
Understood.
All right, any more questions for him? All right, other than that, I'll be looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion, get a second.
What are we motioning on?
To pay.
To pay him.
Oh, I thought that was done with the bills. Okay.
Got a motion in a second? Second. Got a motion, second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All the same sign. All right, thank you.
And just a little follow-up on that, so I mentioned this at the end of the 2020 we will still follow the application in January. So this was to get approved majority of quantity, our reconciliation of all our items for the contractor. So it'll be smaller application in January, to be sure that I have a clear break point. So we start back up in April here. So there will be one more smaller application next month. That will happen as well.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. All right, police chief. Yep.
City Council, my report is from November 19th to December 11th. Police Department had 77 calls for service, which is slightly down from this month, and road cops, Charlie, and bars being closed, that's less people on. We were getting arrested for fire, we still working on several investigations. This part we do traffic citations, one for speed, one for driving application. Right around for all of this, we have one child possession, non-possession case, one scam, For noise complaints, more specifically, traffic stops, heat system, heating single matters, on the alarm, for community policing direct control, 6 officers checks, 1 criminal trespass, and article miscellaneous. Silicon dispatch, only or responding to us to calls for service during that period of time. To the one to our city. Personnel is the same. Training our officer attended instructor for this shotgun, so the model the county will know for numbers that we have. So all members are current on all their trainings. Equipment and police supplies, main unit has 24 as of 11 at 20,500 miles. I just need oil change on it. Next oil change will be about 1,000 miles. Backup unit is given, so it's pretty much 80,000 miles on it. Next oil change about 1,000 miles. We don't have any issues with either unit. All that equipment is working. The only expense that I require was $70 for oil change. Will current proposed to DC, I just set application sort of for eligibility and for us to be able to grants. Requirements how we apply with it's actually a federal law that came out and applied with use of force policy, which we do have in our use of force policy, so we can comply with more requirements, federal requirements, and that basic application is based on the use of force policy. Other than that, like I said, it's quiet. That's usual. Anybody has any questions?
I don't on the report, Chief, but I do, on the city attorney's bill, she's got the end of November reviewing a rental license ordinance, and I thought we had decided not to do that.
Well, when the rental license policy, I guess the issue with that was last time, I wasn't present during that. I think the issue was, the issue was present. Well, she didn't get updated.
Yeah.
So I was just making sure that she, with her and she obviously got to turn it down. I'm thinking of putting it down again. It's corrections. I think there was some sort of misunderstanding as far as whatever happened there.
Sure.
I think that rental policy is very beneficial for the city, for this community overall. And with the direction that I made, we should take a look at it again. This is my proposal, the city council. It's up to you all to decide what you decide. Modify it and report it. But I said, I'm used to this approach with the council platform. All the life in the city. Other cities that implemented that, $5 or will actually improve. So I think we should take another look at it. And see what you.
There's been a lot of talk about it, and I guess from my standpoint, which will be irrelevant soon, but Mankato's rental license is more about safety, and we did have a death at a rental in a fire since I've lived in Henderson, and I'm totally on board with something like that. And in Mankato, the fire department does the inspection. It costs money. I'm assuming that money goes back to pay for those personnel, but they do things like check to make sure that there's, an egress window in a bedroom, and make sure that the windows are operable, that there's exits, that there's fire extinguishers, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, that kind of thing I could get on board with. And I think that, that's what I would like to see in a rental license ordinance. But the punitive stuff that we talked about before, I felt like we were all pretty uncomfortable with some of the more punitive aspects of that.
Sure. This is just a proposal. I mean, this is not. Members of the city council. Normal forms of violence. But, I strongly believe that we should have something in place. As far as different aspects. Safety for the residents, light, in the back, and just for law enforcement. It's crime prevention, and it's proven. There's a reason why pretty much every city has it in one form or other.
Do you have one in Cleveland?
We do. I just want to make sure that our people who are landlords are on board
Yeah, maybe something,
and that we get some buy-in from them.
some public input.
Right, that's what I heard from landlords, why haven't we just been talked to, explained to us, so. I would recommend that you talk to landlords first, because otherwise, when you bring it up again, the same thing's gonna happen where the next council, whenever it comes up, is gonna catch hell for it, so. I think you should talk to the landlords and explain that to them and do some PR work there.
Yeah, I agree.
Be
It's
my
been-
recommendation.
I agree with you, Jim. It's been a consistent theme that puts pretty much anything council does as seen as adversarial with the public, but just like with our project and again with this. So public input would be my recommendation also.
Well, surely this is a regular process. It's a city council meeting that city attorney feels comfortable with, and everybody's taking place with that area, especially we need something that's from landlords that's great, but I think it should be more before the city council first. So okay, take a look at it, and then if there is any landlords that want to contribute or just express their opinion on that, that's good, should take into consideration.
All right. Any other questions for the chief? All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, I don't know what NR stands for.
No report.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, city administrator, you're up.
Not much has changed on FEMA things. Nothing's changed in the sign stuff. Nothing's changed on any of the blacktopping with the winter compost. Now the names might get confused here. There's two L's that are referenced in some of our compost stuff. Al Christensen is the guy from Tri-County Solid Waste, and then there's another Al that is a contractor that Bruce has been working with to do some cleanup, that put an estimate into, but I don't know how close anybody's looked at our existing piles and whatever that are all up there. And I don't know what your desire is as far as leaving it there, doing something different or whatever, but it looks like it's about a $6,000 job to get rid of what's up there. Some of that, I've been working with Al Christensen, he would help pay for some of it. But I guess the first thing is whether that's something you guys are interested in doing, or whether there should be a different method of dealing with that accumulation that's up there. Or if that's, I mean, 3 years ago, I think we decided we weren't gonna burn it anymore. And then we let it sit, and it piled up last year, and it cost us a little over $4 grand. But it cost Al a little over $5 grand to do it, and it cost us a little over, right around 3 to pay for our share. So it looks like that's based on what we accumulate. If we're gonna go the hauling out route, it looks like it's gonna be a $5,000 to $6,000 cost each year. So, and I don't know if that's what you wanna do, or if you wanna switch gears and try to go back to some other method, which I guess the other options would be a total grind up, which would be another cost, or go back to having the fire department assist with a burn, or whether we live by what we said and just figure out a way to just dispose of it when it's there. I mean, there are places that'll take it, and that's kind of why dealing with the gentleman that Bruce is dealing with now, he works out of Mystic Lake, and they've got their own little setup. So basically, he'd haul it and take it to somewhere at the Mystic Lake site and dispose of everything there. Last year, Frondine from Gaylord took it, and he took it all to his site east of Gaylord a little bit, both certified sites. So
That's once a year. I mean, that basically takes it once a year, right?
well, so far that's what we've done. I mean, last year we did it about this time or a couple weeks ago, and last year we did it in November, early December. And I guess this year would kind of be the same thing. I mean, that's usually when the haulers have got time after the rest of their work gets done.
Well, first off, any interest in going back to burning?
What's the cost difference between hauling and grinding?
Well, we still would have, I don't know that, but I know it's more than $6,000.
It's still here then too. So,
So
Okay.
if
That
we-
doesn't sound like
if
a
we
solution.
did that and Al picked up some of the cost, is he hanging any caveat on that?
No, not on this, because when I talked to him the other day, it's like, he's still got Jersey barriers that he owes us yet that he hasn't put up there. He's got signs yet that he owes us that he hasn't put up there. He's got some other things that I basically said, you haven't lived up to what you're doing. So we expect you to live up to that, but we don't necessarily doesn't do any good to put signs up there next week because of whatever, but we want those up by next year, but help us out. And he said, well, I got to check my budget and do whatever, but it sounded like 2,000, maybe 2,500 we can get out of him.
okay.
Working on the option.
Yeah, it seems like a good one. If you want to just get it out of there.
Can we wait till after the first of the year so that it's out of the next budget? Or doesn't it matter?
There's actually, when you see the budget, that fund, we locked off a $5,000 bond from that. So there's like over 9,000, when you look at the cash balance, there's over $9,000 in the account now. Plus, we're saving another 4,000, so part of that 4,000 was 3,000 something was budgeted for either those Jersey barriers or doing whatever, so some of that was kind of set up to pay for some of this. I didn't necessarily think it would be, quite as much, but
Sure.
There is some cash flow there. But the guy from Mystic, as long as there's not 3 feet of snow on the ground, whether we do it by the end of this year, he might not do it till next year anyway. I mean,
Okay.
so, I mean, he basically said sometime in mid to late December, or early winter, when I get done with everything else. Because all he's got to do is go up there, Bruce will probably help him with the loader, he'll go up there with a couple belly dumps or something, just dump them in there, dump whatever's in there and take it to his site.
Okay.
If you want me to just go ahead with it, then I'll just go ahead. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
Well, it'd make more sense to do it now, because you can get in there, if you could do it in the next, there's not any snow forecast for the next 2 weeks, if you could do it now, as opposed to next spring, you don't know what you're gonna get, and then you could just keep the same bind next season.
well, and then I guess if it's out of there, I can bitch at Al a little bit more and tell him, no, you got plenty of room to put those Jersey barriers up. There's nothing there. I mean, right now we got big piles, so
yeah,
he'd probably just drop the Jersey barriers off and Bruce would end up placing them anyway. So if the site was clear, then he might be able to bring those in and actually, if there's a couple nice days in there, set it up, so.
okay.
Yeah, but if that's the way, I'll just get a hold of that Al Mystic Lake guy tomorrow and we'll just go that route then.
Yeah, sounds good.
Snow removal, those will be part of 2021 approvals. Allison's Park, nothing. Community building, nothing. Boat landing. I think the fishermen should be done now. They were still out there yesterday using it, so maybe they'll be there. But I think last weekend we had 5 or 6 one day. Pump house project, freeze is going to start on Monday. Working with McGuire Iron and the auditors to figure out that original $280-some-thousand 5-year proposal that McGuire put together. We've got 2 years of it done. They're going to need to put a value on what actually, or we got 2 years of it paid. They're going to have to put a value on actually what that whole project is. I talked to Lane yesterday. He said get that done by the end of the year. So I'm still waiting for them to have that submitted. I didn't look today, but Wingnut said he's got all the stuff for the railing and for sure it's going to be done by the end of the year. We'll see. Ordinance stuff, the last I saw on that was wherever this goes in Indianapolis, I think it's on some attorney's desk and it's in the quiche as far as being typed. So we should get some information when that gets drafted. School board stuff would be next year. Annual report, I was going to have that for today, but with Freeze calling me today and telling me he's going to start that door on Monday or Tuesday, I'll wait till that's done. Staffing, I send out the information on Lindsay that she's taking a new job effective leaving Friday. We're budgeted out payroll and whatever with her PTO and things through the end of the year. I think what I want to do, if it's okay, is I got auditors coming on the 9th. Before looking around or trying to even figure out how we want to do staffing, get that information to them and then kind of figure out how we're going to work things through. In talking to Lane, and he hooked me up with a different assistant who she called me today. He did say they can provide some interim assistance if we want it, and she's gonna shoot over a proposal here in the next couple weeks. But I don't plan on doing a whole lot different through the end of the year anyway, unless somebody else has got some advice or suggestions that I'm gonna have to do. But I don't know who I would get to put in the office that would provide any additional security or whatever between now and the end of the year anyway.
Yeah, it's fine with me. Anyone else have any thoughts on that? I mean,
It's fine with me if you're okay with it.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. Well, that's what I want to work on also between now and the end of the year is I've never been a big tablet guy or any, doing all that. I don't know how I can actually set it up, and I've been talking to Lane as far as how internal controls work and whatever. But basically, he's saying that a lot of small communities that are doing a lot of offsite work are going to laptops and running stuff all off of there and whatever. I did talk to Jeff today about how we could do some of the stuff. You know, right now we do pretty much all our utility billing stuff online. All of our park stuff worked online. I don't even know what it is, but the lady from Abdu said you can do internal controls on utility billing by using a lockbox. Maybe you know what a lockbox or whatever is, but apparently that goes to a site that somehow our banks see the numbers, but Abdu, like if Abdu was our selected consultant to help, they would get all of the information and basically enter all of the things, you know, so that lady's coming up with a proposal, and we'll see how much it actually would cost, but she's coming up with a proposal that basically would allow them to do utility bills and accounts payable, you know, which, and she was explaining to me how it works, and I said, well, put it in writing so I can figure it out and explain to whoever. But, and she said that's something that we could, if we wanted to pursue it, we could pursue it on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, you know, whatever. So with the idea, if we did go, say, longer than a quarter, then Abdu would have to be out as far as auditors. Then they'd have if we did it longer than a quarter with Abdu, and then we'd have they'd have to be out, and we'd have to look for, you know, a different auditing firm, but we wouldn't have to worry if we just did something temporarily until March 31st to figure out how we're going to do restaffing and what, you know, how we're going to gear back up. We don't have our 2020 report really done until March anyway, so Lane said that wouldn't be a conflict, but somewhere end of March, early April, if you're going to make some modifications with staffing and how you're going to do things, you would have to have it done by then. So I guess, you know, and some of you guys have been, and I know what the level of comfortability is, you know, it's going to be something that the new council people have to talk about, but I know, you know, Paul brought it up when he first started, you know, about everybody going with laptops and, you know, and doing whatever. Maybe, I don't know what the investment or cost or something is, you know, maybe that's the route in the long term we end up taking, so that all you guys basically can do internal controls and everything else basically as a check off on a laptop on a smaller scale, similar to, say, how the state or county does it when you're signing off reports, you know, and doing whatever. And I don't know how any of that would work, but that's the kind of stuff that, at least preliminarily, I'd want to look at to see how practical it is. And I mean, we know what our budget is. I mean, we know we got with benefits and whatever, we know we got about over $60,000 stuck into that position. So, and you know, so we can start out with that to make it work. And I don't. So if that's 60,000 and by a quarter, that would be 15,000. I can't believe that Abdu, basically the lady said she'd only need to do bills like one day a month, and she'd only reconcile those Dropbox things like 3 days a month. And it's like, I can't believe that it would be $5,000 a month for doing that, you know, which would be less than what we got budgeted, but I guess we'd have to wait and see how all that.
So probably very similar to what they did for MRPA.
I think so. Yeah.
My only concern is, you know, we've talked about looking at different auditing firms, and I'd hate to have us get so sucked into Abdu Ike that if we decide to move, we can't move.
But see, Abdu couldn't do both.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's why Lane basically says we got to decide by March 31st, because our 2000 year is over then. Now we're getting into 2020 is over. We're getting into 2021. And then if they're going to be our financial assistants or managers, they can't be the auditors. So, and I guess, you know, I think when we pay them whatever it is, $20-some thousand, that's a lot to do audit. But on the other side, $45,000, if that's how much it is to help out for a year, is less than is more than 20. So I guess being a financial or being an administrative advisor or financial advisor to them is probably more lucrative than being an auditor. You know, so at first I couldn't figure out why you would even think about bringing it up, but I guess when you think about it in the long term, they do put more money in their pocket if, in providing that service. You know, so.
Right. All right, any other thoughts from the council on that? Okay. All right, city council, is there anything from the city council?
Do you think it would be, I'm talking about water now, do you think it would behoove us to get a chemical company in here to look and see if they can figure out what is happening with this water? Mine again tonight was the color of poor coffee. It's been that way for the last, off and on for the last 2 weeks, out never clear. James did call me. He said, well, the samples he took this morning and sent in were crystal clear.
I don't know. I can take water out of my purifier and it's clear, but pre-purified, you put it in a clear jug and it's like tea.
I mean, and it's just getting worse.
Well, why don't I bring in, at least, why don't we, I don't see him on here, but we've got that company that bills us for that Claritas and whatever. I mean, they haven't been here since they sold us that stuff however many years ago it was. So, and it's been 5 or 6 years. So maybe I'll try to get them to show up at a meeting and have them come in with some kind of, tell them what we're looking for. That gets, what's our chemical composition? What are you guys providing? What are we doing wrong that we're not being as effective as whatever? And maybe they got some solutions that James doesn't know about that we haven't looked at. I mean, it's been a long time since we switched over to that Claritas. Those guys were here for a while when we were switching over and making reports, but then we never followed up anymore again.
So the dosing equipment company,
Who is it?
the company who like supplies the dosing equipment, is that who you're talking about?
I don't see a bill on here. I don't think so. I don't remember exactly what the name of their company is.
Because I mean, it's probably not from the well. It's probably the chemical change through the system. In that, that's bad because it picks up, what gets deposited in the pipes when the chemical composition changes from the well through the pipes, it picks
Right.
up. Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely a concern. Even though that's why James's sample would be crystal clear, is because it's changing in the pipes, which is what happened in Flint, Michigan. So it's definitely.
But maybe there's methods that different ways to inject.
Oh, for sure, different chemicals that they should be
And
using. Like it might be
or if we're injecting in our 2 wells, maybe I don't know. I mean, maybe if there's different injection points in the system because we got high and low and different pressure.
Right, there's inline injection
Yeah,
systems.
yeah,
which would be
maybe.
more effective.
And maybe maybe they've been scared to bring it up because that might cost $10,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is, and maybe they brought it up 10 years ago and it was $50,000 and we said it was too much or something, but it's a long time. It's a long time since we've been briefed on how that stuff was going to work, but those guys did tell us that it was going to be the clear system and you weren't going to have any issues, and once it was in, it was going to be slick. So
Yeah,
I
see
guess-
if they'll come.
at least get them to back. Yeah, and then if they don't tell us, if they don't seem to know what's going on, then look for a different company, and
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you, Randy. Anything else from the city council? All right, looking at the month end, I'll be needing a motion on that. Got a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, and the bills? Looking for a motion on
good.
those, or did you want
cash balance first, I think. Right?
to? Oh, yeah, you don't need a motion on that though.
No, okay, you didn't, okay, no, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, well, we got a bunch of it sitting there.
Okay, that's fine, yep.
But no, I mean, I guess I expected that, we kind of knew that, we just borrowed all that money, but we can go over it, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, what we're gonna have after tonight in our checking account is 1,478,0761. $500,000 of that is in Hometown Bank in an interest-bearing account. In our principal and interest that we'll have to cut here the 1st of January or to be paid by February is $678,000. So our balance approximately in Hometown or First State Bank will be about $300,000. Right now, we're just invested in simple interest, and the main reason I've already got 2 calls from or two emails, and now sending something back to Mary Ipple, who's our financial person through Ellers and whatever. There's a thing on you've got to do arbitrage and sign off things and whatever. You basically can't make more interest on a project than when you get money in, you can't invest it for more than what you paid on the bonds. So by the end of the year, there'll actually be cash balances in different accounts. And so hopefully by then, if we're at 120 right now in general, that'll be 300,000 by the end of the year. So I can't say that the $1.3 million is say getting invested at 1.5% something, because we only are paying 1% on that bond. But if there's money in different accounts, I can do that, you know. So once I see what those balances are at the end of the year, there may be some temporary investments that'll pick us up maybe $3,000 or $4,000 more in calendar year 2021. So that's what that is, or that's what that is about. I guess one other thing, and maybe you can explain this better than I can. FDIC requirements were always $250,000 is what the bank would cover. Now there's a different system out there that at least Hometown Bank uses, that it cleans you, it somehow washes your account each night so that you got a new balance, and you've got unlimited coverage through FDIC when you run through that account. And maybe can you explain maybe better what that is than I can? Well,
Yeah, no, it's a sweep. So it just sweeps any excess balances on a daily basis over to this other bucket, which it's not from one checking account to another checking account. It just sweeps it over to a different kind of account that allows the bank to get it covered collateral wise. It's a more efficient way for them. They pool it with other, monies within their system. And so they're able to collateralize it on a pooled basis. And without start moving things around like here, there, whatever, that's just
so yeah, when the Hometown Bank guy called and said that was an option, I did call Lane to check. He said, yeah, that's what everybody is doing. But one thing that was interesting, when the money came in, it was going to go in one account on Thursday morning. And by the time it actually got wired, that account had too much money in it. And there's only a certain slots that are allowed in each of these accounts. So that account had too much money in it. And we had to go back down and reopen up a different account and re-sign everything else to put it in there. It's like, what's going on? And it's like, the banker guy said, well, there's just too much money out there right now that people want to invest in, and they keep putting it in these pots. And especially, with other governments are doing just what we did, getting money for 1% or less, or, doing whatever. So they're all doing it by the end of the year. And they all got billions of dollars that they want to put in these sweep accounts. And I was just surprised to hear that the account that we were going to go in already got too much money in, and it filled up, and we had to get a different account.
So what that means is just there's a lot of money on the sidelines of our economy waiting to see when they're going to play it. Same thing happened in 2008 in the recession. They all just kind of held on to their money to wait and see how things are going to turn out. And then it just went all the way back in. But kind of the same thing, strangely enough. But. Okay. All right. Be looking for a motion on the bills.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. I'm sorry. You want to jump in?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
All right, got a motion and a second.
Second.
All right, motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Any old business? All right, on to new business. Polling place resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve that 2020-7.
I'll second.
Got a motion second. Any discussion? Just quick question. The town, Henderson Township, are they on the threshold, or what is the threshold that they would need to hit before they have to have a polling place again and switch back from mail-in?
I think once, the way it was explained, once they're off, they're off.
Okay, okay. All right, got a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. All right. License and permits. So none of our liquor establishments have showed up for.
We don't have any paperwork in. We did have Denise from Roadhouse brought her stuff in, and but we've had more than one question, more than one of them asked about if there's going to be any fee adjustments based on how long they were open.
Who, do we set these?
Fees, yes,
Just like based on what? Just a number we come up with?
based on a number from a $2,000 on sale license has not changed. I think the city sold a municipal liquor store in 1985 or 86, and I think the first year set the private license at $2,000 in say 87, and it has not changed since 87. There are the off-sale licenses are $200 a piece. The state charges that, so that those are set. We can't mess with those. But on sale you can adjust however you want to adjust.
How much does the state take of that one?
Nothing.
I would support reducing it considering what's going on. I mean, even if it was just a temporary 1 year
Right.
adjustment.
Especially, understanding, Dimitri said it tonight with less, they've used the police have had to, there's been less activity. And assuming that most of this money goes to like recovering.
The point is supposed to be, you're supposed to pick like an arbitrary number as to what do you think it's going, what are your expenses, and so your main expenses, okay, one day of coming in and filling the application out and somebody in the office contacting the state of Minnesota, the paperwork, but the rest of it is either legal or law enforcement.
And I would actually say that that's a fixed cost. So regardless, it's not like because there's less activity or whatever, it's not like we get to save any money. It's a fixed cost to the community.
I would be in favor of cutting it in half for 2021.
So for sure.
I would for sure do that, if not even waive it, but I know that's not fair to give them a waive and not do anything for the other businesses, but.
Do any of the other businesses, Lon, still do the pop licenses? No.
We send them out and maybe get two back. You guys might bring one up or you might bring two up and that's about it. But, and we haven't tracked anybody down to actually. So I shouldn't say that. These guys will get a full packet, so they'll actually pay $10 because they'll get a bill like, Charlie will get a bill for $2,310, so he'll pay it and Roadhouse will pay it, but, that's it. And yeah, and in the fire department.
Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I understand where I tend to lean against reducing it because it's you're right, because it's based on a fixed cost policing model. But if anything, based on it being set in 1984, I wonder where we're at. Like, do you know what Cleveland charges? I mean, I have no idea what other communities charge.
They have
Oh.
a muni.
Yeah, we have a Muni, but we have a Legion and we have 2 restaurant bar and grills that have.
Let me just take a second. Let's do a Googler here.
If we had decided this before November 15th, we probably could have gotten the difference in our COVID money.
No, it would have had to been, it would have had to been something that we spent in that time period.
Good point. I think it's a pretty exceptional year, so I think a drastic, what might seem drastic, is totally in order. But what's the due date on these?
Well, typically we do them now, but I mean, they're theoretically closed now anyway. And they're gonna,
Do you
If-
need to have them before the new year?
they're gonna need something before the new year, but I mean, they've got their other paperwork and their insurance. We got the insurance in for Roadhouse and for Charlie's. I don't think I've seen the insurance yet for wine and spirits, but their insurance is in. We haven't got anything from the state saying they're waiting for the applications, so, but you can just, typically, as long as they get them before the first of the year. But the state doesn't care when we collect our money. I mean, they could care less if we collected a month ago or.
So the only, I did a quick Google here. So Mankato, which isn't really super representative of us, they charge me between 3,700 and 6,500, and they reduced it 30% this year. So
And they also still had college. I mean, so they didn't lose as much revenue, I think, as probably a city without colleges would have.
yeah, no,
Denise did say Arlington reduced hers up there.
Okay.
If she said how much, I didn't write it down.
all right. Yeah, no, I'm comfortable with whatever we decide with going. Just with the recognition that it's the fee supports a fixed cost thing that won't have a reduction, but you know, so.
Well, I think half is pretty fair, being as it's been since March, basically. So they paid it last year and used it for 3 months. Well, this year, March. So, you know,
Do you need a motion on it?
So if we went half, could we say, payment is due, June 1st?
Do that.
And then
and one
that
time.
would give them a
You know,
little
just
more time,
This year.
hopefully if they can open back up,
Yeah, I
to
like
come
that.
up with funds.
Yeah, and you can make it for only 2021.
Yeah, I think they've got to send their $100 and $200 checks in, but I think we're only talking about on sale, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm fine with, you know, half. If that's what you guys want to do. That's cool.
Well,
I
I'll
make a motion that we, for 2021 only, we reduce the on-sale liquor licenses to $1,000 per bar, that being Nison's and the Roadhouse, and that we have payment due by June 1st of 2021.
Second.
All right. Got a motion in a second. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
I,
All same sign. All right, 2021 budget. Lon, go ahead and reduce that budget by $2,000 on the revenue side.
Hey, look at that, I just did it already. First page is the 537 and how it's broken out. If you look at page 2, the 4,700 is 2,700 now. So that would make that 657, 804, 808, and not to jump too far ahead. But if you go back, if you flip back to page 10 in the expenses, which is back a ways, That's still, even with that, 657,804.
But we are counting on a few $1,000s in interest, you just told us, so that might not change that much. And before we get too deep in this one, is the library, is that job in here? Because we approved that project, but we haven't been billed for it because it hasn't been done. So that project that Chase is doing, that needs to be.
Okay,
approved too.
all right. I'll put it in as a capital outlay. That's fine. That's fine. It probably, there's probably enough, well, once I get there, there's probably enough overage or whatever to match it, but let's see. Okay, so I won't change any, let's see if there's anything to highlight on revenues. Not really. I'm probably low in 2021 budget on disaster aid. I've got 130 in, but I'm pretty sure we're getting to the end of what we're going to get. 130 is a real number as to what's accounts receivable. We just got another check in today, so I doubt if there's going to be more coming in before the end of the year. So 63, which means we're going to have probably another 70 coming in or 67 coming in next year. But if you compare that, if you take off 765, that's really only 700 so far. We got 630 is what we're going to have in expenses. So that should be like a positive 70,000 this year. Anyway, if you would ask, where's that positive 70,000 come from? Pretty much from COVID money. Didn't do anything, okay, on the revenue side in 250, nothing to say there. Nothing to say on any of the 300s, 400s. If you look, the 411 and 412, those are our two new funds for that bond that we just did. And I can probably explain these other things easier when I get into the summaries. Water, nothing really changed much there. Going to use that as a transfer in place. You see 145 this year, 150 next year, and that basically is when we talked a couple, when we did that refinancing, basically we're using that 240 that were extra in 604 and moving it over to water to pay that bond from the bank, from First State Bank. 602, nothing numbers wise really changing. PFA bond, nothing really changing there. We actually were, for whatever reason, I suppose because everybody's at home, a little bit higher in water than usage and money coming in than what we had in the past. 605, like I guess those revenues aren't changing much, but you'll see on the expense side, they'll be reduced. 875s, and those really don't, that's all fire stuff. So then I do get to the expense parts, and if you kind of want to remember some of the subtotals, you can. Did the 2% salary increases and whatever all that are in there. And so that would have, like I said, for whatever was going to be set up for Lindsay, when I run all that through, it's about 60,000 when you take part-time salary in all the various departments and benefits and things like that. Council, that one I did go up because we're changing fees next year. We're changing payments next year. And but we dropped $33,000 for because of election judges. We're not going to need those next year. The audit fees, that might totally change if we end up going different, from going away from Abdu. City attorney stuff. How I did these is I added all of them up from financial management down to city attorney, and we're a little bit ahead of the game when you run them all through. Police, then I didn't added we increased the budget for having, our second officer on. And so overall went from 139 to 146. Building inspection didn't change much, civil defense didn't change much. Streets overall net didn't change anything, park net didn't change anything. So, okay, a library, what do I do on library? What is it? Can probably plug 6,000 in there. And I guess well, at this point, I don't know exactly how I'll make that adjustment, but yeah, so that'll end up being 35,150 with 6,000 going into 530. And so then that's gonna take that to 661,801. If we end up being short or can't do, which basically is what we ended up as last year's budget, 661,801 compared to 661,383. 220 didn't do anything. 250 didn't do anything. 300s. We're actually getting some. I'll show those in the summary later. We're actually getting those 300s kind of pretty much straightened out. 601 for expenses. Again, the 600s aren't really part of the tax levy budget, but it makes a difference because we're using the 604 fund to transfer some funds into all these various spots. And when I look on page 24, which would be the total, 188 is basically, that'll end up being the budget because of, we paid 150. When we did that bond issue that we got in December, we paid the bank 151, which was actually due on February 1 of next year, or at least within the budget for next year. So in next year's 2021 budget, there is no principal in that 601. So that's why this is down from 302, 309 to 188. It's because of that payment, and it won't set us behind. It'll just change that cash flow for the end of calendar year 2021. Otherwise, the expenses themselves did not change very much. And again, the debt and the bond stuff I can show different or better later. One thing I would point out on the 602 is on page 26 under wastewater treatment plant. 2020, we still got one more payment to do, and 155 might be on the high end. It's probably going to be closer to the $7,000. But as the information I got from James this morning, from it shutting off, we haven't shut, of course, that main off yet behind 4th Street, but right now we're averaging 67,000 gallons of sewer sent over to the sewer daily. I mean, other years at this time we've been between 220 and 250. You know, so I didn't think we'd get even below 100,000, but we should actually knock that down by 10 more thousand, once we shut that other main off. And, you know, right now we pump right around 50,000 a day on the average. So we're gonna get down to the mid 50s here, I would say by February, which then that ties out to about a $800 to $8,500 a month bill from MRFA compared to paying anywhere from, we've paid over 20 different months already. So, so that 130, that might actually end up being maybe even a little bit high. I'm not, but we'll have to see how all that comes out for, you know, for next year. And then also, and then when we roll it over to 604, you'll see in 604, this year there's $170,000 in transfers that are going out there into the various funds. Next year, I've got it budgeted at $200,000, and where the wastewater treatment plant, you see there's no debt on that, the 49,451. The other debt, the 49,458, that 40,600 this year, this February was the last payment on that. So there'll be nothing in that as well. So that should bode well for keeping to use those funds for helping out some of the other departments. And 605 even, which we haven't really used much, but you'll see that as well. We're picking up an extra $4,440 under 605 47550. That bond went away this year as well. 75, nothing there. 901, nothing there till the end. But so just as kind of a recap, I just updated this that I put together here earlier in the year. I still see no reason to change this to where basically our levy stays the same for the next 4 years, or I guess payable 24, so 3 years, I guess, after 21 through the 4. The 250 fund should be zeroed out this year. The only negative fund balance we should end up having is the 301 fund, which is that PIR debt service fund, but that's still right now on track to being positive by 2024. The next spreadsheet I just did today, putting in, and this one now includes our 2020A bond that we just received the funds for, and we set up where we got that extra money coming in because of the good interest rate and whatever, and got the 2.9 million that we're only paying back 2.8 on. This one, kind of the same thing. If you'll look on the right side, 604, using that for transfer, this year 170, but that's, we're gonna have that 200 and some thousand or $200,000 to transfer out, 250, I guess, basically, to transfer out of there over the next however long, or use for whatever you want to use it for. But we're gonna have to use it in 2022 and 23, because this is the one where we're paying interest on the 2020 A bond, but we still got that short-term interest bond with First State Bank that we issued last year that'll end up having to get paid in 2022 and 2023. So that then by 2024, we should be on track to just use $100,000 of that 250 and then figure out what would need to be done with the rest. The other thing that makes that number big in 2022 and 23 is that a long time ago, we issued a water and sewer bond that we had basically just paid interest on for 20 years or 18 years. And now the last 2 years were big premiums of $72,000 a piece. So, so those hit home next year and the following year as well. So then I've got the budget resolution and the tax levy resolution.
Do we just keep the 220 fund out there, just to keep it out there?
No, you're trying to get rid of it, and our system is set up to where if you put something in there, I thought I was gonna get it erased here a couple days ago, but somewhere over the last 3 years, we must have put something in there, and our system doesn't let us delete anything if there was one thing put in any of those boxes. I spent about a half an hour trying to figure out where. I couldn't figure out where. I said, the hell with it, and
Well, that's fine. Just-
try it next year. No, yeah, it takes up a lot of spaces that I just assume not to have
2 sheets of paper.
taken up, you know, and,
All right. I'll be looking on a motion for the budget, noting the library adjustment.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-08.
All right, got a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Motion, second, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, can we go back? I want to go back to the liquor license real quick. I had two questions. One clarification and just one question for the group. One, are we adjusting the fees to the existing establishments or the fees for any establishment for an on-sale liquor license, knowing that we have 3 actually available? So if a third entity wanted to come into operation in 2021, would they pay the $2,000 or would they pay the $1,000?
I would say the 2,000 also because they haven't taken the hit like the existing places have. They would be starting afresh per se.
Okay.
I think that's how I've got the motion, that this reduction is for
These two.
these two that are,
No, that's
because
fine.
we've actually got a line item here, so we can cross those out, you know, so that's how I would interpret it.
Okay, that's fine. And then the second question, just because it's a hot topic, do you want to entertain the idea of making the reduction in the fee contingent upon being in compliance with the governor's orders?
Well,
Like, for example, there's 160 businesses that are going to say, we're going to open anyway.
I'm not worried about that,
Okay,
Mayor, only because those businesses who open, they're going to be in court.
okay,
So, and the only thing about it was, this is for 2021.
Yeah.
So the way I read the order or what's in the paper today, after January 4th, something else happens anyway. So really that would be, if they'd be not in compliance with something, it would be something, it wouldn't be what's
Yeah.
going on today. It would be something different.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, no, I just want to bring it up since it's definitely because it's an issue I've heard about that people have talked to me about, so I just want to make sure.
But no, if somebody called, I think that's my response, is that this is 2021 business that we're dealing with. The governor's order doesn't necessarily, at this point,
Right,
go to that. So, I mean, you can always come back and amend that, or somebody can change that if something else changes
Okay.
in the future. And compliance wise, I think somebody higher than us will deal with people if they're not in compliance.
okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure we flush that out, so, okay. All right. Revised meeting schedule.
I think we needed one more yet.
What?
That was on 8. We did 8.
Oh, you're
We
right.
need 9.
Okay, the actual levy, set the final levy? Yep. 2020-08, yeah, that's, no, let's see,
9 when you get.
9, yep, okay. I'll be looking for a motion on 2020-.
I'll make a motion.
All right, got a motion, can I get a second? Got a motion, and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pull the same sign. All right, Revised meeting schedule.
Well, and I do think that the fire commission should meet, but I also understand that by the third Monday, you won't have a second rep from the city.
Yeah, and I gotta find out who's gonna be on there. We got no chairman. So I don't know who to ask for next year. Swen did not run again.
No,
And they won't appoint anybody new until the first Wednesday in January. Swen, well, I shouldn't, they've got an idea as to who they think it might be, but, somebody ran, I didn't see who it was, whoever got the most write-ins. Somebody, I don't know who it was. Maybe you do, I don't know. I didn't see.
can we try like the fourth Monday in January?
Okay,
And then by that time, Paul will have appointed a second one from here.
I'll check and see to make sure that's okay with those guys once next year starts.
Okay.
25th, right?
Just because I think we should meet.
Oh, yeah, we have to meet. You gotta have officers and,
All right, I'll be looking for a motion on the revised meeting schedule.
I'll make a motion.
All right, got a motion here in a second. Got a motion in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, be looking for a motion to adjourn. Got a motion here in a second. Got a motion in a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
Can I